Deceptive women have been a subject of intrigue and caution throughout human history. Whether driven by manipulation, emotional control, or hidden agendas, their actions can leave lasting impacts on those around them. But how do we navigate these complexities while maintaining peace, clarity, and personal integrity? Stoicism, the ancient philosophy rooted in wisdom, offers profound insights into understanding and responding to such behaviors. In this video, we'll explore the dark secrets behind deceptive women and how Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus can help us uncover the truth and strengthen our character in the face of such challenges. Deception often thrives on confusion and emotional manipulation, leaving individuals feeling powerless and uncertain. But Stoicism teaches us to detach from external influences, control our emotions, and focus on what truly lies within our sphere of influence, our thoughts, actions, and reactions. We'll delve into key Stoic principles, such as acceptance of what we cannot change, self-awareness, and the importance of virtue. These teachings empower us to cultivate a mindset of resilience, discernment, and authenticity. By applying Stoic wisdom, we can gain clarity, set healthy boundaries, and protect our inner peace from deceptive tactics. Join us as we reveal practical insights and timeless lessons from Stoicism to help you understand, respond to, and thrive amidst deception. Whether you're seeking clarity in relationships, personal growth, or just a deeper understanding of human behavior, this video will equip you with the knowledge and tools to navigate these challenges with confidence and strength. Number 1. Understanding deception from a Stoic perspective. Deception, from a Stoic perspective, is not merely a failure of another person's character, but an opportunity for self-reflection and the cultivation of virtue. The Stoic approach begins by recognizing that we have limited control over the actions of others. The behaviors of those who deceive are often driven by their own desires, fears, and attachments. However, our true power lies in our ability to control our thoughts, judgments, and reactions. Stoicism teaches that emotions such as anger, frustration, or resentment in response to deception are largely reactions to events beyond our control. By focusing on what is within our grasp, our own character, choices, and responses, we maintain a sense of tranquility and clarity in the face of confusion and manipulation. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius often emphasize the importance of reason and self-awareness in understanding deception. They remind us that our perception of external events is shaped by our own judgments and beliefs. Therefore, deception itself is often less harmful than our interpretation of it. Stoicism encourages us to detach from the emotions and narratives that arise when faced with deceptive behavior, understanding that our emotional reactions often stem from our own attachments and expectations. By cultivating equanimity, we can respond with reason rather than passion, seeing the world as it truly is, rather than as we wish it to be. This detachment doesn't mean indifference, but rather a clear-eyed awareness of the nature of others' actions and their limitations. Further, Stoicism urges us to focus on what is within our power, our character, and actions. When confronted with deception, the Stoic will reflect on their own role in the situation, rather than being consumed by external forces they cannot control. By doing so, they take responsibility for their own reactions and guard against the emotional turmoil that often follows deception. Virtue, from a Stoic standpoint, involves living according to reason and nature, remaining aligned with what is just and true, regardless of external influences. Deceptive actions, while challenging, do not diminish our integrity unless we allow them to. Instead, they become opportunities to strengthen our character by responding with patience, self-discipline, and wisdom. Detachment is another key Stoic principle that helps us navigate deception. By detaching ourselves from the expectations and desires tied to others' actions, we free ourselves from the need to control outcomes that are beyond our influence. Stoicism teaches us to accept events as they are, rather than being ruled by the false hope of changing others' behavior. This detachment fosters a sense of inner peace and clarity, enabling us to respond rationally rather than react emotionally. The deceptive actions of others may seek to manipulate or control, but Stoicism encourages us to recognize that such behavior cannot dictate our own peace of mind unless we allow it to. Instead of being entangled in external events, the Stoic focuses inward, aligning their responses with reason and virtue. Deception in Stoicism often serves as a reminder of the limits of external influence and the importance of self-mastery. The Stoic is aware that others' actions may stem from their own ignorance, fear, or desire for control, but these are not forces that demand our emotional investment or reaction. By understanding the true nature of deception and separating ourselves from its effects, we cultivate a deeper sense of resilience and self-control. Stoicism does not call for passive acceptance, but rather an active engagement with reality, where we strive to align our responses with what is rational and within our control. Through this mindset, we learn to identify deceptive behavior without allowing it to disrupt our internal peace or moral compass. Moreover, the Stoic approach to deception emphasizes the importance of virtue as a foundation for navigating life's complexities. Virtue, in this context, is not about seeking approval from others or being free from external judgment, but rather living according to reason and integrity. When confronted with deception, a Stoic focuses on maintaining their own character and ethical standards rather than succumbing to the distorted realities imposed by others' manipulations. By doing so, they uphold their moral commitments regardless of the behavior they encounter. Deceptive individuals, no matter how skilled in their tactics, cannot ultimately diminish our virtue unless we allow their influence to weaken our resolve. In essence, deception challenges us to examine our own character and reactions. From a Stoic perspective, the key lies in understanding that we cannot control the intentions or actions of others, but we can control our responses. By focusing on what is within our power, our thoughts, choices, and actions, we cultivate resilience, clarity, and peace. Stoicism encourages us to embrace virtue, detach from emotional turmoil, and remain anchored in reason, allowing us to navigate deception with wisdom and integrity. Number 2. Silent ignorance as a power play. Silent ignorance from a Stoic perspective is not a sign of weakness but rather a strategic power play rooted in self-mastery and detachment. When confronted with deceptive behavior, silence becomes a tool of strength rather than a display of ignorance. Stoicism teaches that it is not always necessary to respond to every provocation or attempt at manipulation. In fact, a wise individual recognizes that many situations do not demand a reaction, especially when emotions are likely to be stirred. By remaining silent, one avoids the trap of emotional reactivity, which often feeds into the very dynamic that deceptive individuals seek to create. Silent ignorance operates from the understanding that much of what others do is beyond our control. When someone engages in deceptive behavior, they often aim to provoke a response, whether it be anger, frustration, or doubt. By refusing to engage in these emotional exchanges, we strip away their power. Silence acts as a form of disengagement, where we refuse to give weight to their manipulations. The Stoic recognizes that their peace of mind and integrity are not contingent upon the behavior of others. Instead, They understand that their true strength lies in their ability to rise above the desire for validation or acknowledgement from those who seek to deceive. Moreover, silent ignorance is rooted in the Stoic principle of focusing on what is within our control. A Stoic knows that their emotions and responses are the only things they truly have power over. When someone seeks to provoke us, it is their behavior, not ours, that defines the situation. By maintaining silence, we break the cycle of reaction and control our response in a way that reflects virtue and wisdom. Stoic philosophers such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius emphasize that we should not allow ourselves to be moved by things that are beyond our influence. In this context, silence becomes a form of inner tranquility, where we do not let external events disturb our peace. Silent ignorance also serves as a form of discernment. A Stoic understands that not every situation requires their immediate attention or engagement. By stepping back, they gain clarity and perspective, allowing them to assess the intentions behind others' actions. Often, deceptive behavior thrives on confusion and emotional entanglement. However, silence offers the clarity to discern the true nature of such behavior without becoming absorbed in the drama it may create. A Stoic sees beyond the surface and recognizes that the ability to remain silent allows for a deeper understanding of what lies beneath deception. In many cases, those who deceive seek attention or validation, but the Stoic refrains from granting them that power. Furthermore, silent ignorance fosters an internal locus of control. Deceptive individuals rely on external validation and attention to assert their influence. By remaining silent, the Stoic refuses to feed into their need for acknowledgement or reaction. This form of disengagement forces them to question the authenticity and purpose of their actions. The Stoic does not give away their power by reacting impulsively. Instead, they act from a place of reason and self-control, understanding that the only response required may be one of stillness and quiet reflection. In this way, silent ignorance becomes a means of reclaiming sovereignty over one's mind and emotions. Stoicism also highlights that silence can be a demonstration of strength rather than submission. When faced with deception, silence is often perceived as a retreat. However, from a Stoic standpoint, it is a calculated and powerful choice. The deceptive person thrives on the attention and emotional engagement of others. By refusing to engage, the Stoic undermines their influence, leaving the deceiver without the reactions they seek. This act of silence is not about passive avoidance, but rather an active assertion of control. It requires the strength to endure discomfort and not be swayed by external pressures. In conclusion, silent ignorance, viewed through the lens of Stoicism, is a powerful tool for navigating deception. It reflects the Stoic commitment to virtue, self-mastery, and detachment. By refusing to engage in the emotional dynamics of deception, the Stoic maintains their peace of mind and integrity. Silence becomes a form of strength, where one's focus remains on what is within their control: thoughts, actions, and responses. Through silent ignorance, the Stoic refuses to be moved by external manipulations, instead choosing to rise above them, guided by reason and clarity. Number 3. Red flags. How deceptive women manipulate. Deceptive women often employ subtle but powerful manipulation tactics designed to undermine the confidence, clarity, and emotional stability of those around them. These tactics can take various forms, many of which rely on creating confusion, exploiting vulnerability, and eroding boundaries. One of the most common manipulative strategies is the use of emotional dependency, where the deceptive woman fosters a sense of dependence on her approval or attention. She may create an illusion of exclusivity or control, leading others to seek validation and reassurance from her. thereby keeping them tethered to her actions and desires. Another key tactic is the use of gaslighting, shifting blame, distorting reality, or making others question their perceptions. By questioning someone's judgment, actions, or even their sense of reality, the manipulative woman creates doubt and uncertainty. This not only disorients the individual, but also makes them second-guess their own instincts and decisions, weakening their confidence and self-reliance. Gaslighting thrives on creating an environment where the victim feels isolated, unsure, and reliant on the manipulator for clarity and affirmation. Silent treatment and withdrawal are also frequently used by deceptive women. By withdrawing their attention, affection, or communication, they induce feelings of abandonment, rejection, and confusion. This tactic creates a dynamic where the victim is left guessing about what went wrong, often leading to self-blame and increased dependence on the manipulator. The deceptive woman knows that silence can speak volumes, leaving others to fill the void with their own insecurities and doubts, reinforcing the manipulator's control. Additionally, creating guilt or shame is another hallmark of manipulation. A deceptive woman may make others feel responsible for her emotions or actions, often by emphasizing their shortcomings or failures. This guilt-tripping tactic ensures that the manipulator retains control by making the victim believe that they owe something in return, whether it be attention, effort, or emotional support. Through these means, the manipulator ensures that her needs and desires take precedence, while the victim's sense of self-worth is eroded. Lastly, a deceptive woman may play on emotional vulnerability by appearing as a victim herself. By presenting herself as someone who is misunderstood, mistreated, or in need of rescue, she compels others to step in and offer their support. This victimhood narrative allows her to position herself as the center of attention, while subtly reinforcing dependence and control. Over time, those who fall into these manipulative patterns often find themselves caught in a web of uncertainty, doubt, and diminished autonomy. In all these manipulative tactics, the key goal is to disrupt the victim's clarity, undermine their sense of self, and create dependence. From a Stoic perspective, recognizing these red flags is essential for maintaining one's integrity and peace of mind. A Stoic mindset emphasizes self-awareness, virtue, and the ability to discern manipulative behavior while remaining anchored in reason. By cultivating this awareness, one can avoid falling into the traps of manipulation, focusing instead on what is within their control, such as their own responses, actions, and boundaries. Number 4. Setting boundaries and maintaining mental peace. Setting clear boundaries is essential for maintaining mental peace, especially when dealing with manipulative or deceptive individuals. Boundaries act as a form of self-protection, allowing individuals to create clear limits around what they are willing to accept and tolerate. Without boundaries, it becomes easy for others, particularly those who are deceptive or manipulative, to overstep, causing emotional confusion, stress, and a loss of control. A Stoic perspective on boundaries emphasizes the importance of distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. Boundaries are a reflection of this understanding. They help us focus on what we can control, such as our own values, reactions, and sense of responsibility. When we fail to establish boundaries, we often find ourselves drawn into patterns of emotional entanglement and manipulation. Deceptive individuals may exploit our lack of boundaries to exert control, create uncertainty, or cultivate dependence. By setting clear limits, we create a line of demarcation that defines what behavior we will accept and what we will not. This allows us to maintain our inner peace by refusing to engage in situations that threaten our well-being. For example, if someone repeatedly uses guilt-tripping or manipulation tactics, Establishing boundaries by communicating what behavior is unacceptable and reinforcing those limits can prevent further erosion of mental clarity and self-respect. Moreover, boundaries are not only about protecting ourselves from external influences, but also about protecting our sense of integrity. A Stoic recognizes that their peace of mind depends on aligning their actions and thoughts with virtue and reason. Boundaries help maintain this alignment by preventing others from compromising our values or forcing us into situations that conflict with our character. When we uphold these boundaries, we reinforce our commitment to living according to what we believe is just and true, rather than being swayed by external forces or manipulative tactics. Setting boundaries also requires a deep level of self-awareness. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of understanding what is within our control and what is not. By identifying the behaviors that cause discomfort or distress, we gain insight into what boundaries we need to set. Whether it's distancing ourselves from toxic relationships, limiting our exposure to certain people, or refusing to engage in manipulative patterns, clear boundaries empower us to protect our mental peace. When we are intentional about setting and maintaining these limits, we avoid becoming reactive to external manipulations, allowing us to respond with calmness and clarity. In practice, maintaining boundaries involves recognizing when a situation or person is no longer contributing to our well-being. A Stoic accepts what is beyond their control and focuses on their internal responses, what they can influence. Boundaries are an extension of this principle, helping us distinguish between what we can control and what is beyond our reach. By holding firm to these boundaries, we create a space where our mental peace is safeguarded and our ability to remain grounded and virtuous is strengthened. Ultimately, maintaining boundaries is a crucial component of Stoic philosophy, particularly when dealing with deceptive or manipulative individuals. It fosters resilience, self-awareness, and a clear understanding of what is within our power. By setting boundaries, we reduce the impact of external disturbances, protect our mental peace, and ensure that our actions align with our values and virtues. Number 5. Detachment and control of external events. Detachment, from a Stoic perspective, is the practice of maintaining inner peace by focusing on what is within our control while acknowledging what is beyond our control. The Stoics teach that our peace of mind should not be dependent on external events, circumstances, or the actions of others, as these are outside our influence. Instead, we should direct our energy and attention toward controlling our own thoughts, judgments, and responses. By doing so, we cultivate a sense of equanimity, regardless of what happens around us. External events, whether they involve the behavior of others, unforeseen circumstances, or uncontrollable outcomes, are inherently unpredictable and beyond our control. When we become attached to the desire for specific outcomes or cling to expectations, we set ourselves up for disappointment and emotional turmoil. The Stoic accepts that such attachments only lead to unnecessary suffering. Instead, they practice detachment, letting go of the need to control what is not within their power. By doing so, they free themselves from the grip of anxiety, frustration, or resentment that often arises from external events. Detachment doesn't mean indifference or passivity. It is rather an active form of self-mastery. A Stoic remains aware that external events can neither harm nor benefit them unless they choose to react emotionally. Their focus is on managing their reactions and maintaining virtue regardless of external circumstances. For instance, when confronted with deception or manipulation, a Stoic doesn't allow these behaviors to dictate their emotions. Instead, they recognize that they cannot control the intentions or actions of others, but they can control how they respond. By detaching from the need to seek validation, approval, or even external outcomes, they preserve their peace of mind. Control, from a Stoic standpoint, lies not in changing the external world, but in shaping our inner responses. The Stoic understands that the key to peace is not in resisting external events, but in embracing reality as it is. By doing so, they reduce the emotional turbulence that often accompanies attempts to alter the unalterable. Instead of dwelling on what others may think, how circumstances may unfold, or what outcomes they desire, the Stoic turns inward. They focus on their own character, their judgments, and their actions, which remain within their sphere of influence. In this sense, detachment becomes a tool of freedom and resilience. The Stoic remains unmoved by external events because they recognize that true control lies in the clarity of their internal state. When we release attachment to outcomes, we prevent the erosion of our peace by external forces. Instead of being reactive, we respond thoughtfully with reason and virtue as our guiding principles. Ultimately, detachment and control of external events empower the Stoic to navigate life with calmness and composure. By accepting what lies beyond their influence and focusing on what is within their power, they maintain their peace of mind, regardless of the unpredictability of life. This detachment allows them to live with greater clarity, virtue, and strength, unfazed by external disturbances. Number 6. The role of perception versus reality. Perception versus reality plays a crucial role in how individuals interpret and react to the world around them. From a Stoic perspective, understanding this distinction is essential for maintaining clarity, peace, and virtue. Perception is how we perceive events, situations, and people based on our beliefs, experiences, and emotional biases. Reality, on the other hand, exists independently of our perceptions, objective and unaffected by our interpretations. The Stoic recognizes that while perception is shaped by our judgments, it is often clouded by emotions, biases, and desires, leading to distortions of reality. Deceptive individuals often exploit these distortions, presenting illusions that appear to be true but may not align with reality. For instance, someone who is manipulative may craft a narrative that leads others to believe something that is false or misleading. By distorting reality through selective information, omission, or outright lies, they create perceptions that may appear convincing but are far from the truth. The Stoic understands that this gap between perception and reality is where confusion and emotional turbulence thrive. The key to navigating this gap is to cultivate wisdom and discernment. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius teach that we must separate what is within our control, our thoughts, judgments, and responses, from external events and the beliefs we form about them. By doing so, we avoid becoming enslaved by false perceptions. Instead, we focus on understanding the reality of a situation as objectively as possible, free from emotional distortions. Perception often relies on the mind's tendency to prioritize immediate emotional reactions and assumptions, which can lead to erroneous conclusions. For example, a manipulative individual may create a false narrative that evokes anger, guilt, or insecurity in others, leading them to react impulsively. By doing so, they distort reality, compelling the victim to believe something untrue and undermining their mental clarity. The Stoic recognizes that their emotions can cloud their judgment, making it difficult to distinguish between perception and reality. Therefore, they strive to remain vigilant, practicing objectivity and self-awareness. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of maintaining a clear distinction between perception and reality. This involves questioning assumptions, challenging beliefs, and constantly reflecting on the accuracy of one's judgments. By examining events with reason rather than emotion, the Stoic avoids being swayed by false narratives and manipulative tactics. Instead, they aim to view life through the lens of truth and clarity, ensuring that their understanding of reality remains untainted by external influences or distorted perceptions. In practical terms, this means that when confronted with deception or manipulation, the Stoic remains composed and reflective. They do not allow their emotions to dictate their perceptions, but rather they examine the situation with reason and detachment. By doing so, they are better equipped to recognize when perception has been skewed by external forces. In this way, the Stoic refines their ability to discern what is real from what is not, allowing them to maintain their peace of mind and integrity. Ultimately, understanding the interplay between perception and reality is a cornerstone of Stoic practice. The Stoic's goal is not to eliminate perception altogether, but to cultivate the ability to see beyond it, grounding their understanding in what is truly real rather than what they may wish or fear to be true. By doing so, they ensure that their responses remain guided by reason, virtue, and clarity, rather than the illusions created by distorted perceptions. Number 7. Emotional self-control and response management. Emotional self-control and response management are fundamental aspects of Stoic philosophy, emphasizing the importance of maintaining composure and clarity in the face of external events and internal disturbances. The Stoics understood that emotions often arise from our perceptions of situations, and it is not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments and reactions to them. By cultivating self-control over our emotions, we can prevent them from clouding our judgment and interfering with our virtue. Emotional self-control involves recognizing that while we cannot always control external circumstances, we do have control over how we respond to them. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the distinction between what is within our control, our actions, thoughts, and responses, and what is not, the behavior of others, the outcome of events, and circumstances beyond our influence. Emotional reactions such as anger, fear, or frustration often arise when we are attached to outcomes or believe that external events should unfold according to our desires. However, by practicing detachment, we can break free from these attachments and respond to situations with reason and clarity instead of reactive emotions. A key practice for emotional self-control is self-awareness. The Stoic focuses on recognizing the initial triggers of their emotions and examining their judgments before responding. By reflecting on the nature of their thoughts, they can identify whether their reactions are based on rational assessments or distorted perceptions fueled by fear, desire, or frustration. This awareness allows the Stoic to intervene and adjust their responses, ensuring that their actions are guided by virtue rather than impulsive reactions. The Stoic also emphasizes the importance of maintaining equanimity in the face of adversity. By accepting that external events are outside of their control, they focus on the internal aspects, their responses, thoughts, and judgments that they can influence. For instance, if confronted with deception or manipulation, the Stoic does not allow these external forces to dictate their emotional state. Instead, they detach from the outcome and focus on what is within their power, controlling their reactions and maintaining their peace of mind. Another key principle is practicing virtue, which involves responding to situations in accordance with reason and moral clarity. The Stoic understands that acting virtuously means responding to external challenges with calmness, patience, and resilience. By choosing responses that reflect virtue, the Stoic prevents emotions like anger, resentment, or frustration from taking over. They recognize that acting impulsively or emotionally leads only to further confusion and distress. while maintaining control over their reactions allows them to respond with wisdom and composure. Ultimately, emotional self-control is a practice of discipline and focus. The Stoic works to reduce the influence of destructive emotions by redirecting their attention toward what they can control, their thoughts, judgments, and responses. In doing so, they cultivate a sense of inner peace and clarity, unaffected by external events and the emotional turbulence they often provoke. By managing their responses in this way, the Stoic maintains their tranquility and integrity, ensuring that their actions remain aligned with virtue, regardless of external circumstances. Number 8. The power of self-knowledge in handling deception. Self-knowledge is a fundamental component of Stoic philosophy and plays a critical role in navigating deception and maintaining clarity in one's interactions with others. The Stoics believe that understanding oneself is the key to virtue and wisdom, as it allows individuals to distinguish between what is within their control and what is not. When it comes to deception, self-knowledge equips a person with the awareness to recognize manipulative behaviors, distortions, and false narratives. By understanding their own beliefs, values, and biases, a Stoic is better able to perceive the world clearly and avoid being deceived by others. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the idea that we should focus on what is under our control, our judgments, actions, and responses, while accepting that external events, including the behavior of others, are beyond our influence. When we lack self-knowledge, we are more likely to be influenced by emotions, desires, and false assumptions. Deceptive individuals often exploit these blind spots, creating illusions or manipulating others through emotional triggers like guilt, fear, or desire for approval. Without self-knowledge, we are prone to reacting impulsively, driven by these emotional forces rather than responding with reason and clarity. Through self-reflection and self-awareness, the Stoic gains insight into their own thought patterns and motivations. They recognize how their own beliefs, assumptions, and biases shape their perceptions of the world. This introspective process helps them discern when they are being swayed by external influences, including deceptive tactics. For example, if someone tries to manipulate or distort the truth, a Stoic who has cultivated self-knowledge is better able to identify these distortions rather than blindly accepting what appears to be true on the surface. Furthermore, self-knowledge enhances a person's ability to maintain equanimity when faced with deception. By understanding their own values and principles, they are less likely to be swayed by external forces or the illusions created by others. A Stoic, aware of their own moral compass, is better equipped to distinguish between what is real and what is false. They are less susceptible to being influenced by emotional reactions such as anger, fear, or disappointment, which often arise when we are deceived. Instead, they can respond with reason, maintaining their composure and integrity. In practical terms, self-knowledge involves recognizing one's weaknesses, limitations, and tendencies toward emotional attachments. A Stoic understands that their inner peace depends on their ability to act in accordance with virtue and reason. When they are deceived, their self-knowledge helps them avoid falling into the traps of resentment or self-blame, instead focusing on what they can control, their thoughts, judgments, and responses. By understanding their own vulnerabilities and biases, they are more adept at recognizing deceptive behavior and protecting themselves from manipulation. Ultimately, the power of self-knowledge lies in its ability to foster clarity, discernment, and resilience in the face of deception. A Stoic, armed with self-awareness, is less likely to be deceived or influenced by false narratives, as they understand the limitations of their own perceptions and the importance of responding with reason rather than emotion. Through self-knowledge, they remain anchored in their values and virtuous principles, ensuring that their interactions are guided by wisdom rather than illusion. Number 9. Building character and authenticity over time. Building character and authenticity is a lifelong process rooted in Stoic philosophy, emphasizing the development of virtues and the alignment of one's actions with reason and truth. Authenticity arises when a person lives in accordance with their values, remaining true to themselves regardless of external pressures or expectations. The Stoics believed that character is not something static, but something cultivated through consistent effort, reflection, and practice. Over time, as individuals commit to developing virtues such as wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control, they foster a sense of authenticity that becomes deeply embedded in their being. Character, from a Stoic perspective, is closely tied to the development of rationality and virtue. Authenticity emerges when one strives to align their actions with their values, rather than being swayed by external circumstances or the desires for approval, recognition, or material gain. Deceptive behaviors, often driven by ego or attachment to outcomes, reveal a lack of authentic selfhood. A person who lacks character may act inconsistently or out of alignment with their inner principles, leading to feelings of emptiness, confusion, and inauthenticity. The Stoic seeks to avoid this by committing to the rigorous practice of self-examination and reflection. Through self-awareness and introspection, the Stoic becomes conscious of their character flaws and areas for growth. They acknowledge their weaknesses without judgment and commit to improving themselves through disciplined action. This process of self-improvement requires resilience and a willingness to confront discomfort, as it challenges the ego and calls for the rejection of superficial desires or external validation. By focusing on what is within their control, their thoughts, judgments, and actions, the Stoic builds a foundation of authenticity that is impervious to the distractions of external influence. Over time, as the Stoic continues to cultivate virtues like patience, humility, and self-discipline, their character becomes more solid and aligned with their true nature. Authenticity is not about seeking perfection, but about staying committed to the pursuit of virtue despite setbacks and failures. The Stoic understands that mistakes and struggles are part of the journey towards self-mastery. Through perseverance, they refine their character, shaping a sense of inner strength that is unwavering, even in the face of deception or external manipulation. Moreover, the pursuit of authenticity requires courage. It takes courage to face one's vulnerabilities, admit one's limitations, and act in ways that may not always align with the expectations of others. A Stoic who builds character remains steadfast in their commitment to living with integrity, even when others may try to undermine their authenticity. Deceptive individuals often prey on those who lack this inner resolve, exploiting their insecurities and false sense of self. The Stoic, however, remains unshaken by such manipulations, as their authenticity is grounded in virtue and self-knowledge. In the end, the journey toward building character and authenticity is one of continual effort and self-mastery. It requires a deep commitment to living according to one's values, and the Stoic understands that true fulfillment comes from aligning one's actions with their inner truth. Through the development of virtue and self-awareness, they create a foundation of authenticity that cannot be shaken by external forces. In this way, the Stoic becomes more resilient, confident, and aligned with their true nature, free from the traps of deception and inauthenticity. Number 10. How to navigate life with Stoic virtues in a deceptive world. Navigating life with Stoic virtues in a world filled with deception requires a commitment to self-mastery, clarity, and virtue. In a deceptive world, where truth is often obscured by manipulation, distortion, and illusion, The Stoic adheres to a framework that emphasizes control over one's thoughts, judgments, and actions. At the heart of Stoicism is the understanding that while external events, including the behavior of others, may be beyond our control, our response to these events is what truly defines us. To live a life grounded in Stoic virtues amidst deception, one must focus on what lies within their sphere of influence, primarily their thoughts, reactions, and judgments. The Stoic begins by distinguishing between what they can control and what they cannot. External forces such as the intentions of deceptive individuals are outside of their influence. However, their own thoughts, attitudes, and responses remain entirely within their control. When confronted with deception, whether in the form of manipulation, dishonesty, or false narratives, the Stoic does not allow these forces to dictate their emotions or behavior. Instead, they turn inward, focusing on their own response rather than being consumed by the external chaos. A crucial Stoic virtue in navigating deception is wisdom. The Stoic strives to cultivate discernment, recognizing when appearances are misleading or when others are acting with ulterior motives. By developing self-awareness and reflective thinking, they avoid being swayed by false narratives or emotional triggers. The deceptive world thrives on emotional reactions, fear, anger, or desire, and the Stoic understands that these emotions can cloud judgment. Instead, they rely on reason and logic to assess the truth, staying grounded in their commitment to virtue and integrity. Another vital Stoic virtue is courage. The Stoic is not easily manipulated by the fear of loss, rejection, or the need for external validation. Instead, they face deception with resilience and fortitude. When confronted with dishonesty or manipulation, they do not retreat into passivity or avoid confrontation. Instead, they stand firm, adhering to their principles and maintaining their composure, even in the face of uncertainty or adversity. Courage allows the Stoic to remain authentic and unshaken, unafraid to challenge deception when necessary. Self-control is yet another critical Stoic virtue that helps navigate a deceptive world. The Stoic recognizes that their peace of mind and integrity depend on their ability to control their reactions and avoid becoming reactive to external forces. In the face of deception, they practice restraint, not allowing their emotions to be manipulated or governed by the desires for approval, revenge, or resentment. By maintaining self-discipline, they ensure that their responses remain aligned with reason and virtue, rather than being driven by impulsive reactions. Detachment is also essential for the Stoic navigating life in a world of deception. The Stoic understands that their well-being should not be tied to the behavior or actions of others, as these are beyond their control. They release attachment to outcomes and remain focused on what they can influence, namely, their own responses. This detachment prevents them from becoming consumed by false narratives or emotional disruptions caused by deceptive individuals. Instead, they maintain inner peace by embracing reality as it is, rather than clinging to illusions or fantasies. Finally, the Stoic maintains a focus on their higher purpose, living virtuously and in accordance with their moral values. In a world that may seek to undermine truth and manipulate others, the Stoic remains committed to their principles. They recognize that true strength comes from living authentically and virtuously, rather than seeking external validation or avoiding discomfort. By doing so, they navigate deception with resilience, clarity, and peace, ensuring that their character remains intact amidst the illusions of the external world.